like to get into that discussion that you were asked me the other day about what what uh what was that transition of of becoming more spiritual in life and how that left the world behind in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, um I guess we could talk about that. I got a couple minutes. And what I was trying to say is because as my journey that I'm going through now is uh I'm learning how to leave worldly people behind. And where I mean by that is with me leaning more towards God and towards the Lord more, I'm
Right.
learning that people around me don't matter. What they say don't matter. What they feel about me don't matter. The only person at the end of the day that matters is God and how he views me and my salvation.
Right. Right.
And that's all that matters to me. So when I asked you, it was more of like, what did you go through? What did you do? You are you going through the same thing that I'm going through? As I look at it as a game, I look at life as a game,
Yeah.
and
It's a challenge.
nothing.
You either win or lose. Meaning,
Yeah,
you're the winning is not to beat other people. The losing is not to lose to other people. It's it's within you.
yeah,
You either win within or you lose within. You either conquer or you are conquered.
yeah. And that's why I
Always.
look at it. I look at
Always.
it as a game, not to be better than anybody, not to be worse than anybody, but into reality, just be my better self.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to think. And the quote that's kind of, I think I told you, is to turn the other cheek. That one really resonated with me and kind of completely changed my mindset. Is to, if so, figuratively or literally, if somebody hits you on the cheek, is to turn the other cheek and hit this side.
Yeah.
It's not to retaliate or to try to, hurt the other person. It's because at the end of the day, it does, if you're gonna retaliate, you're not solving the problem, you're making it worse.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that's and the Lord teaches us to be forgiving and to forgive our brothers and sisters, even if they do wrong. It's we're not to be the judge anymore, or not anymore or to be the judge or anything. That's his job.
I, yeah, but we have to at least allow ourselves to look at people and say, do I need them in my life? Are they making a contribution in my life? Meaning the closest. Now, your
Yeah.
wife, of course, you want her in your life, but do you want 10 other women in that apartment that you live in same time? Probably
No.
not. Okay.
No.
But you've judged your wife and said, this is the one I want.
Yes.
So you have to make those calls. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, and I say I'm pretty grateful to my journey right now. It's I still got a long way to go. Um, but now it's getting to the point where every day I kind of on my way to work or when I wake up or whatever I'm doing, I am before I wouldn't think about what if I did this, what would God think of me
Yeah.
type thing. Now it's more if I do it this way, what does God need for me to be better? What can I be as a better human and son of God? That's kind of where I'm going towards.
Well, one of the things in your nature and your core nature of who you are, and I'm a zodiac Chinese zodiac guy, so one of the things that's in your characteristics is in the zodiac sign that you are. And what is that one? It's you're born
I'm
in
in Gemini.
Gemini. Geminis lean towards spiritual things. They seem to be lost without them.
Yes.
So it's in your nature to already be leaning that way. And so I can understand why you're kind of, at least you're on that journey back
Yes.
to, to God in that and becoming more spiritually enlightened. So I think, like I said, I think it's just a natural part of who you are. So it's a
Yes.
good thing, you know, it's a good thing. It's already naturally part of you. So go with it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something that I've embraced fully now. Is I've kind of like when I was growing, I say from like 17 on to now, I say before now, I guess I was embarrassed of that side, and I shouldn't because it was, I guess, worldly was not abandoning, but pushing back on that view in life. But
Right.
now I'm kind of opening it back up and embracing it. It's who I am as
Yeah,
far as
absolutely.
God and how I was raised and everything. It was always who I was as a person. So it's kind of now embracing it.
Well, good. Now I know. What was I going to? I slipped my mind. On this journey that you're on, are you is your wife uh, transitioning also, or is it's
She's so I just yeah, she knows I'm aware of, not aware of like what I'm doing as far as religion wise. I know I talked to her yesterday and I started asking her to read every night together.
yeah,
Because I just thought about what we did as kids growing up with you is, every day before we go to bed, reading a scripture. And
good,
I wanted to bring that to myself and to my life,
right,
with us too, having God in our marriage. One, because it helps me a lot and it'll help benefit her too as well. So I'm starting off with her, starting off slow, just me and her. Um, because it is important for me to have God in my life and in my marriage. Is because with God, I feel like I could be a better husband to her,
yeah.
and hopefully one day be a good father too.
Have you noticed my emblem there, where the swords and the axes, and how it makes a triangle?
The what?
The sword and the axes, and how it makes a
Yes,
triangle. Never
yes,
my I never even thought about it when I made it, but yeah, that triangle is significant. It's the central part of how we can grow in our relationships. As
yeah,
put God at the top of that triangle, we
hmm,
put self to the left and put other to the right, meaning your wife or maybe a child or whatever that looks like. The closer we come to God, the closer we come together as
yeah,
husband and wife, or father and son, or whatever that looks like. So that triangle is very important, that we don't go uh, too. If we There's a string tied to us between each one of us, and that string can be pulled to a point where it breaks.
yeah,
The only way to reassemble it is to drop back down and go and try to move together up the triangle.
yeah,
Because you're already on the journey, it's going to take your wife. She'll lag behind sometimes, but then hopefully she gets a hold of it, where you and her are lagging behind at any given time, and the other one's helping the other one up up the ladder there,
yeah.
to grow together and to grow with God at the same time. I was Now I remember what I wanted to say before I asked you about that journey with my wife. Is you 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 asked about, did I remove the worldly from me, and then you talked about people, and yeah, things changed a lot. uh the kind of It wasn't that I wanted to lose my friends. I have got some great friends, Raul, Bo, who's my cousin, and we played Halo and all that stuff together. But eventually I had to choose what life I wanted. Did I want to just play video games for the rest of my life,
Yeah,
or did I really want to harness something else in my life? And video games are great and everything, and being with friends and like that. But eventually you have to put away the kid games and transition to something that is more beneficial for yourself, for your family.
yeah,
And the more and more I became spiritual in that way, the more and more I could see that there was I could talk to the guys. They talked to me great. but it was but they could but I was eh, trying to build a spiritual life, and they captured the fun things of life, that what you would call fun. I find the spiritual things to be absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful, and too much fun in life. I have too much fun with the gospel in my life. So, and I could talk to anybody about the gospel, and it brings great joy to me. And so that transition from who my closest, who was close to me, did change. I became more family oriented because
Yeah.
that's what happened. It wasn't about my friends anymore. It was about my family that was the most important part of my life. And how was I going to help them on that road together?
Yeah, no, I get it. And I think too with this, with us talking, I know I shoot you text all the time, and with that us talking, has actually brought us even closer together too. Uh,
Absolutely.
Because I think we talk more now than we ever did before.
Well, we did, but it wasn't on a serious or on a level that we are talking on now.
Yeah, no,
But
it's
we
like
have
we talked, but it wasn't like on this type of level.
yeah, but we enjoy these things. That's the thing.
Yes.
And we can talk about them. And I don't bring offense to you. You don't bring offense to me. You could tell me that Mormonism is a bunch of garbage, and I just debate with you until my
Yeah. No, I don't think
tongue
I
fell off my. No, and I'm just saying. But
yeah.
we could go back and forth, and neither one of us would be offended. Whereas the other children seem to have a hard time having that conversation, no matter what it is in
Yeah.
the gospel still. But I think part of that is because you're appreciating the things that the church has to offer, whatever that, to whatever scale or whatever level that is. I'm just saying you're appreciating it. I appreciate it a lot. So you kind of, it's a lot easier for us to talk about it because we're not in opposition, or you're not trying to go a different way. You're not going
I'm
you're
not
not you're not on the you're not on the same trail as me exactly. You might be parallel,
it's like way I
but
look at it, it's
you're
like a stream.
transitioning.
It's like you can
It's
swim
hard to
upstream.
explain. So
Yeah, it's the way I look at it is as a river, and people who follow God are going downstream, easy, easy. The people who are trying to go away from it are going in a different direction. It's going the opposite upstream. It's a lot harder, and the transition I feel like I'm going is a slowly
do you think
swimming.
it's harder to 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 go away from God? In a way, it is. When you talk about
I don't think
the
so.
river, when you talk about the river, it's a lot easier. I think you're right. I think what you're saying is right. It's a lot harder to go away from God than most people think. It's almost like swimming upriver or paddling upriver, trying to get away from Him when He's never going to go away.
Yeah, because the way I look at it is okay. And in a sense, yes, it's a lot easier to go down the way this if you were to flip and go downstream than be with and not be with God, and it's a lot harder to go with upstream than be with God. I look at it as different ways because at the moment it might seem easier, and a fish is swimming upstream to make it thinks it's easier, but when it gets pushed to the back end, it's a lot harder to deal with the consequences for eternity than it is to deal with it in the physical being.
Yeah, yeah. You can transition that river metaphor both ways.
Yeah,
Where if you're just going with the flow of the world, if the river represented the world, and you're trying to escape the world, you have to go upstream.
yeah,
But if the stream is a guide for you to get back to God, then you go with the stream.
yeah,
So it depends on how that metaphor you want to use it. I think it works great both ways. If you
yeah.
depend,
And it's so easy now to, I guess, to follow, to lead astray and go towards the worldly things. I know what happened in Brazil where they had that big old demon festival or whatever it was, and people were worshiping the devil in certain ways. Whatnot. I would definitely recommend looking at it. And a week later, I believe there was like a flood there, and a lot of the people who were in there either got really, really injured or really, really or died.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things too is we're living in a world where it's bad to be with God. If you get what it's a
Yeah.
bad to
Yeah.
believe in God, and that's what I believe we're in now. It's right now. It's hard to for people who are believing in God, but I know and after this physical life, it's actually going to be a whole lot easier for eternity with God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, you look how long it took for your grandpa to have his opportunity to get out of prison.
Yeah,
You know, he died in 2006.
the six. Yeah.
Yep. And then I didn't do his work until it was about 4 years, 5 years ago.
Hmm.
So he was, so 5 years ago, that's almost 13, 14 years uh, before he was actually able to be removed out of the spirit prison.
Yeah.
Not because I was, and like I said, it was just one of them things. So if you want, the easiest way to go is to follow after the Lord, follow in his footsteps.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not rocket science. He give you the path. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really that easy. But once you get into his kingdom, then it becomes hard. Getting into the kingdom is pretty easy. You just commit yourself to God,
Yeah.
commit yourself to baptism and all these other things that he's asked you to do. To say,
Yeah.
I have declared myself a son of God by entering into the waters of baptism. I've received him in, in the manifestation of the Holy Ghost into my life. So he can be a constant guide. Works both ways. But that's the easy part. The hard part is when you're in and you have to take control of your life.
Yeah.
He's a guide, but he ain't going to force you down. He's not going to force you into something that you have don't desire in the first place.
Because I know I've been reading, and it shows that when we're in heaven, we're not just gonna just exist. We're gonna have works to do.
Yeah.
He's gonna have us have almost careers, not careers, but jobs in heaven where we're either preaching or teaching others, and doing other things. So it's like when we go to heaven, it ain't just like oh, we have work to do for the work of God, and I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, not anytime soon, but
There is that lure for those who know or that have a connection to God. There is that lure of I can't wait. I
yeah,
mean, whenever I was going through that COVID thing, and I started to panic. I was like, wow, maybe death is not that easy.
yeah,
You know what I
no,
mean? It wasn't. It made me panic to think that I was going to die. So I think we can talk about death casually,
yeah,
but when we come up to the moment of is this a life or death situation? I'm sorry, I there's a self-preservation built into us uh, that 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 overcomes that
yeah,
that just giving in, saying, I'm done. I want to go where my father is. I want to go transition to the next or to the next uh, uh, facet of my existence. Whatever that whatever that mechanism is very strong. It's not.
yeah,
It's so we like I said. A lot of people talk casually about the other side, but what I experienced, very hard thing, and it's a very
Mhm.
scary thing to think that the next moment I could, could have died because of COVID, but I wasn't even close. I was just having a panic attack because
Yeah.
of the way I was breathing. I was like, I was monitoring my breathing, and all of a sudden it was like made me panic, and then I was able to transition out of that anxiety, that panic attack. Whenever I read Joseph Smith's, let me remember what it is. It's uh, oh Father, oh Lord, where's your thy pavilion? Where's your hiding place? And it's
Yeah.
Doctrine and Covenants. And let me go ahead and speak for a little bit while I'm looking for it.
Yeah, no, too. I know for the past 2 years, my biggest fear was obviously death. But with my journey back to God, I would definitely say my fear has been alleviated. Like, obviously, I still have that, I don't want to die, but I changed my view on it. I changed it to as another part of life, another journey. It's not the end for me. It's more of a transitioning part, like from child to teenager, from teenager to adult, elder to um, obviously death.
Yeah,
Now it's just another part of life, and I know it's not the end, and it's kind of alleviated my fear.
yeah, it's a transition. Is all it
Yeah.
is. It really is. It's only a transition. It's not. It's but it separates us from what we know now. It's like when you moved to Placerville,
Uh, Pleasanton.
Pleasanton. Kind of nervous getting into
Yeah,
it.
no,
Yeah,
definitely a fear.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Same thing. So that transition, any transition has an unknown to it, any unknown. You see
yeah,
Pleasanton, it's right there in front of your face, but yet you had some reservations about getting there and how would that work out.
yes.
You
It
know,
worked out good. I'm
well, I know
moving
that it worked
again.
out good, but I'm just saying before
Yeah,
you that transition point, I think is
yeah, I know it worked out great.
yeah. But I asked you again, and you keep on saying how great it is. But before you got there, that anxiety was somewhat there, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. The
Okay,
anxiety was definitely there.
okay, now we're on the same page. But anyway, it is Doctor Covenants 121, where I had to, when I was going through that panic attack because of my breathing, thinking about COVID. It's
Hmm.
I was I prayed and I and I did some exercises. I did everything to try to break myself. I was still in a panic, and then as I'm meditating, trying to get through this, I get this thought in my head to read Dr. Kevin's 121, and that's the one where he says, "Oh God, where art thou? And where is the pavilion that covereth thy hiding place?" And this is Joseph Smith while he's in Liberty Jail and he's having to go through these hard things
Hmm.
because not of his situation so much, but it's his family and his friends and all the people that follow him. That's where he's struggling the most. And he keeps on telling the Lord, well, my people are suffering, they're dying, they're and the mobs are coming after them. And he's talking about them all the time. And then eventually when the Lord talks to him and he's like, my son, peace be unto you, thy soul. Now the Lord is just specifically talking to Joseph Smith, saying, "You be at peace. Thine adversity and thine affliction shall be just but a small moment." So as Joseph Smith is talking to him about the followers,
Hmm.
the Lord comes back to him and specifically talks to him about how he's feeling.
Hmm.
And I think that's beautiful. And I think we can use that. We we a lot of times we look at the world around us and we kind of say, well, my problem is because everybody else is suffering. But the Lord is always talking to us and saying, peace be unto thy soul.
Yeah.
So, and I think, like I said, when we're talking about death, it's, you know, we should be at peace, knowing there's a savior, one who has conquered death.
Yeah.
Allowed us to allowed that transition to take place in our lives.